All right, let's jump right in. So, what if I told you that there are these ancient, super mysterious books out there that aren't just stories about magic, they're actual, honest to goodness instruction manuals on how to do it? We're talking about grimoires, and today we're going to crack open their forbidden pages.
And get this, that description, that's not from some fantasy novel. Nope, that is a direct quote describing a spirit named Baal, right out of a 17th century grimoire. I mean, that's the level of wild, specific detail you find in these things. It's like a field guide to a world that most of us, well, we never get to see.
So, first things first, what even is a grimoire? Let's break it down.
Okay, the word you really need to latch on to here is textbook. Seriously. These weren't just a bunch of spooky stories somebody made up. They were practical how-to handbooks. Think less like a Bible and more like a technical manual for the supernatural, put together and passed down over hundreds of years. And this leads to a really fascinating idea, this concept of a supernatural bureaucracy. See, the magicians who used these books, they didn't see the universe as chaotic at all. They saw it as highly structured. Magic wasn't just waving your hands around. It was about knowing the rules, understanding the chain of command, and, filing the right paperwork with the right department to get things done.
So, imagine you're a magician back then. Your first step? Homework. Lots of it. You had to know exactly who you were dealing with. And these grimoires, they were basically the infernal version of a who's who guide. Let's take Astaroth, for example. The description is so specific, it's almost funny. He's a Grand Duke, he looks like this, he rides a dragon, he's holding a viper. Oh, and his official job title? Treasurer of Hell. I mean, these aren't some vague, shadowy ghosts. They're written up like distinct individuals with actual job descriptions.
Or how about Fuckalore? He's a specialist in destroying warships. The grimoires are just packed with these kinds of entries, this huge range of entities, each with a very specific skill set. If you need to win a war at sea, you're not going to call the treasurer, right? You call the guy with the griffin's wings who's an expert in sinking ships.
And this one's great. It just shows the weirdly specific combinations of duties they had. Take Vine. He can help you find your lost keys, sure, but he's also your go-to guy for building towers. It's that kind of bizarre yet practical detail that just makes these texts so unbelievably cool. And this all fits into this incredibly detailed, almost corporate-like hierarchy. You've got your kings, your dukes, earls, the whole shebang. And understanding this org chart was absolutely crucial. You couldn't just talk to an earl the same way you'd talk to a king. No way. Picking the right spirit for the job meant you had to know how to navigate this whole complex system. And the sheer scale of this whole unseen world, it's just staggering. According to one tradition that really influenced these texts, you're looking at a grand total of, well, that number right there, over 7 million demons. When you're dealing with numbers like that, you can see why these grimoires were so vital, right? They were a desperate attempt to just catalog and make sense of this massive, invisible population. But look, just knowing the names, that was only step one. To actually interact with these incredibly powerful beings, you needed the handbook. You needed the tools, the rules of engagement, and maybe most importantly, the legal framework. So let's look at one of the most famous grimoires, the Lesser Key of Solomon. It really shows you just how detailed these manuals were. We're not just talking about a demonic phone book here. It's got spirits tied to astrology, instructions for contacting all sorts of different beings, and, this is the key part, prayers and speeches used to call upon the authority of God himself. And here's the absolute heart of it, the thing you have to understand. The magician, they have zero power of their own. None. The whole system is basically built on one giant legalistic loophole. The idea is that you, a regular human, can command a powerful Duke of Hell. Not because you're tough, but because you're invoking the name and authority of an even higher power, God. It's pretty much supernatural lawyering. Which, of course, brings us to the main event. You've done the homework, you've got the manual, so how does a magician actually do a summoning? This is where things get really, really intense. So, you know the names, you've got the manual. How does a ritual actually work? Well, let's walk through it. It's not just random chanting. It's a super structured procedure, kind of like a high-stakes business negotiation with an extremely dangerous client. The whole process is all about escalation. You start with the call,
a polite, formal invitation. If the spirit decides to ghost you, you move on to the constraint, which is a lot more forceful. Still getting nowhere? Then you bring out the big guns, the greater curse. And then, if everything works out, you can't just, hang up. You have to perform a formal dismissal to let them leave peacefully. Now just listen to the language here. This is from the constraint. The magician is straight up threatening the spirit, but not with their own power, remember? It's all with the power of God. They're threatening to strip the spirit of its rank, its job, its whole place in that hierarchy we talked about, and then lock it away forever. And if even that doesn't work, well, then you hit the big red button. You use the nuclear option, the greater curse. This is it, the ultimate threat. The magician is essentially threatening to delete the spirit from existence, to erase it from cosmic memory, and toss it into the lake of fire until the end of time. It's the most powerful weapon they've got. But here's the thing, even after all that, it still might not work. And the grimoires actually have a built-in troubleshooting section for when things go wrong. Maybe the stars weren't aligned, maybe you forgot to bless your tools correctly, or, and I love this one, maybe the spirit was just busy because some other magician had already called them. The line was busy, basically. So when you look at all this, you have to ask, why do these strange, forbidding books still fascinate us so much? What's their lasting legacy? Well, their influence is huge, and it kind of breaks down into three main areas. First, as historical documents, they're an amazing window into how people used to see the world. Second, they're still foundational texts for a lot of modern esoteric and occult groups. And third, pop culture. Their impact is just massive. From horror movies to fantasy novels to video games, the DNA of the grimoire is absolutely everywhere. When it comes down to it, what these grimoires really represent is a deeply human desire to find order in chaos. They come from a belief that the universe, with all its scary, mysterious forces, still operates on a set of rules. And the thinking was, if you could just learn those rules, you might be able to get a little bit of control over your own destiny. And that really leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Are these grimoires actual functional manuals for bending reality to your will? Or are they something else? Maybe they're really just complex maps of the human psyche, a catalog of our deepest fears, our greatest ambitions, and that eternal, unquenchable desire we all have for a little more power. What do you think?